mention, though, not having revival at this moment in time because we're in that disorientation because we don't want to have revival. And you actually quote Tozer in the middle of that when he was writing in the early 50s, that if we were to have revival at this moment in time, it would continue to perpetuate the issues that are there. So we don't want revival. We need reformation before that ever occurs. And of course, we know that every 500 years, there is a massive shift that we see going on.
Yeah.
However, many of the people that we interact with in our churches, they still have this vestige of Christendom culture or this cultural Christianity, if you've referred to it. Yet it's really not. You actually say that it's a form of paganism. You call it out. How is this Christianity? Because I know most people are like, wait a minute, what? I'm a pagan? How am I a pagan? I believe in Jesus. Help us to see how this morphing of Christianity, it's actually not Christianity.
Well, Christianity is premised upon the notion of new birth, the notion of conversion. We articulate it in different ways in different Christian traditions, but that's at the core of it. And when that's absent, you end up with something other than Christianity, especially when what you end up with is a Christianity that's a means to some end. And so there are a couple of ways to paganize. I mean, one way is to say we're going to replace Jesus with Thor. But another way is to say we're going to replace Jesus with Thor and call him Jesus. That's paganization too. And a lot of times what we end up with is something that's not Christian at all, but is useful in the sort of world that we want to live in. And that's just not the way of Jesus. Jesus, if you notice the way that Jesus interacts with the people who follow him in the Gospels, they are always saying, what is happening? Peter says in John 6, I'd like to walk away from here, but I've come to believe that you're the one who holds the words of life. I mean, that is the way that Jesus operates. So a useful Jesus who just happens to agree with all of my social and cultural and political emphases, that's easy to create. And I think often that's what we end up with, not just in the United States, but you end up with it all around the world, and it repeatedly happens. So look, for instance, at the Russian Orthodox Church, a really extreme example, which in many cases was, at least in some sectors of it, heroic in combating Soviet domination, but now, at least at the leadership level, has become an extension of Putin and Putinism. Well, that's any authoritarian wants that. I mean, you always want that because you want to have the ability to have that totalizing sort of secular authority. If you come against me, I'm going to do bad things to you. But you also want, if you can get it, the kind of authority that says, if you go against me, you're going against God and you're going to hell. And so that becomes then a useful tool. And that's a perpetual temptation, but it's one that Jesus rejected.